there's certainly a siloing effect of all this, so that we are creating machinery that curates the available choices in a way that will presumably reliably give us choices that we prefer to randomness, right?
I don't, you see, but that's precisely, let me give you a more obvious example.
Mm,
I am a Western male, you're a Western male, you're probably wearing trousers and a shirt. And um, the sartorial options available to you are extraordinarily small.
mm,
If you look at world culture, and historically, if you go to Persia and Roman Empire and China, and you know, the way we have chosen to adorn ourselves has been incredibly diverse and fascinating. And yet, now, as Western men, we all look like clones. And
mm.
I would claim you're not exercising your judgment. You're being told precisely how to dress. And where you get to exercise your judgment, it is a very, very low dimensional space of texture and color
Mm.
that the manufacturers of clothing, based on purely economic efficiency, have decided to give you. And I think that's what I'm thinking about. It's not, you're absolutely right. You could do a Thoreau, you could do your own version of modern civil disobedience and say,
Mm.
no, but it's very hard for people. And so when you ask me what I'm concerned about, it's not inevitable, it's not deterministic, but unless we choose to, in some sense, assert our individuality and our differences, constructive differences, we will, I think, inevitably become a clonal species.
Mm.
And not only in terms of the way we look and dress, but the way we reason. And that is, so you were asking for my dystopian singularity, that's it. The optimistic future is the one where we say enough. No more conformity, no more over curation of what you think I should do and think, and a kind of radical assertion of diversity, a radical individuality that we somehow reconcile with a constructive communitarian drive. And I don't think we've done that historically very well. How to be as different as we can be, but be congenial with one another.
Mm.
And that there is a positive future for me. But I think that's the path of great labor.
Yeah, yeah. I think those examples are importantly different, though. I totally take your point on dress. It never occurs to me to even want to wear a kilt or something that's not pants and a shirt. And in fact, in my own life, I take that to an even greater extreme. I mean, I am aware of just not even wanting to think about what I'm going to wear that day. So I basically have a uniform, right? I just wear.
But that's the omega point, Sam. You've
Yeah,
hit
yeah. So
the omega point.
I'm the canary in the coal mine, sartorially speaking. But take the case of Netflix or Amazon book recommendations. So normally what would happen 20 years ago or whenever that was is you would go into a video store, you'd go into a bookstore, and you would just kind of walk the aisles, and it would be a fairly, and leaving reading book reviews aside, but that's also another curation process. You would walk into a bookstore and just find specific covers alluring or titles alluring, and things would jump out at you or not in a way that was not at all. It was really largely a matter of happenstance, and not there wasn't much information in the system to reliably promote any one among the thousands or tens of thousands of candidates for reading or viewing to your attention. And so now we have something like Netflix or Amazon, where based on your reading or watching history, based on what millions of people very much like you have rated to be incredibly enjoyable, you're getting various recommendations. Now, there's definitely, again, I see a major liability here in just getting functionally ghettoized intellectually and ethically, where we basically, this is happening online for most people, where they choose to follow on social media people they already agree with, and there's just we get really channelized, and the walls of the channel, I think, are getting higher and higher in terms of the ideas that we are exposed to. It seems to me there's.
You are, Sam, just interject, because let me be very clear.
Mm.
I am not a Pollyanna about the past.
Right. Yeah.
I'm not arguing I'm saying something slightly different, which is the tools that we now possess that are so incredible should be allowing us to have freedoms that are unprecedented, not returning us to the ghettos of the past. And so I'm with you. As you say, I mean, I used to choose my albums by their covers. That was, that wasn't necessarily the most thoughtful thing to do, although sometimes it worked.
Spent a lot of time listening to Yes.
Yeah, a lot of time listening to, no, that isn't the kind of cover that works for me. But yeah, exactly. So so I'm not saying the past is great. I'm simply saying that if you develop a technology that could give you incredible freedom, right? Why not use it to do that? That's the thing I'm saying. And I think what's so intriguing, right, about the history of civilization and technologies is that with every new technology that offers some increment of possibility, it comes with the greater possibility of its own negation. And so the bookstore example is a wonderful one. We were limited by our access to good bookstores, and most of them, quite frankly, were shitty, right? I mean, and had terrible taste, and it was just endless shelves of self-help books that you would be better off helping us by keeping us warm by burning than reading. And so that's true, and I'm very conscious of that, and having Amazon is just a godsend with respect to access to books when you live in remote parts of the world. But what comes along with it is this all-seeing eye that wants to impose, out of largely economic considerations, constraints on what you do. And it's our job to maintain the freedom of the technology. I mean, that's all I'm saying. I'm saying, let's fight the instinct of the technology to treat us as a nuisance in a machine learning algorithm that would want to be able to predict us perfectly and surprise it constantly, right? Let's surprise it. And but yes, I have very little nostalgia for the past.